week of Advent, I stood here and said that we would not even be able to recognize and cherish the miracle of Christmas if we didn't get honest about where we needed it. If we didn't hold in tension a world of complexity and brokenness where we live with this story of God's wholeness and solidarity, of God's love and God's justice, of God's tenderness and compassion that comes at Christmas. So here we are. The world has not become better in these recent Christmas weeks, but Jesus still came to just such a world and comes to us again tonight. We cannot turn away from the messiness of our world, but tonight in the end we are here to celebrate, to sing good news of great cheer. And so as we ponder and prepare our hearts for all of this, let us pray. God of love, this night of Christmas give us open hearts and clear vision so that we can see the world as it is and still and yet perceive the angel voices crying Alleluia at your birth and join in their joyful song. Amen. So I want to start at a place that may not sound very Christmassy at all. The call came at midnight, just as I was contemplating getting a little sleep on my overnight on-call shift from the hospital. But the nurse gave me the details, and I shrugged on my coat and drove in the dark across the city to the U of M hospital, where a room was filled with a few family members and a man who up until days ago had been laughing and alert. His family told stories of their beloved partner and parent and friend. And in the end, we gathered hands around him and said a prayer, commending his body and his spirit to God. And before I had even left the hospital 15 minutes later, he had breathed his last breath, accompanied by his family, and the love of God which had been with him from his first breath up until his last. And one of the things that family said to me before I left that evening was Merry Christmas, which might feel like an incongruous thing to say at such a tender moment, or merely something polite to fill the silence. But as I drove home thinking about the holiness and tenderness of being present for this man's last breaths, and holding that in tension with the simple Christmas wishes shared by his family, I realized that they had unknowingly stumbled upon a deep connection. Christmas and human breath are powerfully and profoundly connected. But mostly this gets missed. We call it talking or singing or birth, but each of the Christmas actions that we have been talking about in these Advent weeks, that we are talking about tonight, that create the story of Christmas, take hundreds of thousands of breaths. Breaths of patience and of strength, determination and courage, joy and hope from each of the members of this Christmas story. So in fact, Christmas starts with a breath. The courageous and holy breath before Mary's yes, saying yes to carrying the Son of God. Her courageous breathing as she waited to see how Joseph would react to her pregnancy. The intake of breath as she began her magnificent prophetic song of God's justice and grace when she met with her cousin Elizabeth. The breathing of endurance that she had to do through nighttime elbows to the kidney as she traveled to Bethlehem with an energetic and growing baby. And her labor breathing, pushing through the pain, and the breath of the warning cry of an infant on a starry night in a crowded manger full of the warm, snuffling breath of animals. Baby Jesus, the Word that dwelt at the beginning of all creation, had to choose at that moment to breathe, to finally become fully human, to let the human body's instinct take over and make the shocking transition from womb to wide open world. And then, as we heard tonight, the startled, breathless silence of the shepherds at the appearance of an angel and the bated breath before the streaming songs of those angels began. And before all of these events, even ages and ages and eons before, at the beginning of all things, as we read in our call to worship this morning, there was the Word. The intake of creative breath at the beginning of time. Christ, the first breath, the first word of all creation. But most of us forget our breath. Instinct keeps us alive, thank goodness, so we forget that it's this singular act of breathing in and breathing out that tethers us to life and to action, to love and to loss, the caught breath of hope and the breathlessness of shock. And with each breath, we change. And between last Christmas and this one, we all know that much has changed, both in the world and in each of our own lives. Wars have broken out, and wars have ended. Horrifying tragedies have occurred, and new hope has taken root. In our own lives, we have lost people, or we have witnessed new births and new moments of celebration and joy in our family and lives. We have taken on new challenges, and we have dealt with serious ones. And every year at this season of the changing years of solstice and Advent, I try to hold all of these changes, personal and global, in my hands as we near the new year and take stock and lament and rejoice and hope for what might come next. And this experience is usually a holy and powerful one for me, but this year it has also felt brutal. It has felt flat. It has felt painful. And one reason, among many, is that this country I call home and which I love has become a much more clearly unsafe place for people like Jesus and his family. And I have to be honest about that at Christmas. Immigrants, travelers, the lowly and the derided in the social hierarchy, this is who Jesus was. This is who Mary and Joseph were. The news reports, I don't know if you heard this, reported that a Jewish family fled the U.S. this week amidst a totally false rumor reported on Breitbart and Fox News that their Jewish faith of their child had caused the cancellation of their school's Christmas play. And given everything that they had seen about internet violence turning into real threats and the threats that were uttered against them, they chose their child's safety over everything else, which echoes the fears that drove Mary and Joseph to flee not soon after this night that we are talking about on Christmas Eve, to flee to Egypt with a young Jesus, afraid for his life. And I know this is unwelcome news on Christmas Eve. I want to feel good tonight. I want to feel calm. I want to feel fearless. But if we really listen to the stories that we've been reading, the gospel passages, Jesus wasn't actually born into a quiet night, no matter what our carols say. He was born into the din of lowing animals, the upheaval of travel and change, and then his parents fled to Egypt in fear of his life. This is the Christmas story in the Gospels, as much as the peace of the glowing stars. and the singing angels. And as much as it would be easy for me to ignore that this evening, or to turn to self-righteousness or anger about the state of the world, what I think the Christmas story is inviting us to do tonight is to just breathe it all in. Just breathe it in and breathe it out. That is to say, be here in this story with ears and heart and mind open, with all of its beauty and contradictions, joyfulness and fear, glory and vulnerability. Notice something that you haven't before and give it your full attention. Allow this story to enliven and transform you. And then breathe out. Breathe out with your actions of caring and of courage, actions of hope and joy-filled resistance. And it may not feel like much, this story, to just let it seep into us, to let this one night make a difference in the world that we all share. But it is incredibly powerful. Because if we believe the story of our faith, Christmas changed history forever. In Charles Dickens' The Christmas Carol, Ebenezer Scrooge vows to let Christmas change his life forever, to keep Christmas in his heart all year long. Which sounds charming on December 25th or 26th, but how about March 15th or July 7th? How do we keep Christmas in our hearts then? Well, one way is that we can start with our breathing. Breathing and dwelling in the good news of Christ, which is not just this one night in Jesus' life, but the nights of his playful childhood, of his adult ministry at table with sinners and outcasts, of his prayers at Golgotha on the night before his death, of his rising in the darkness of pre-dawn on Easter, and startling Mary Magdalene and the other disciples breathless when they saw him. In our world, where there are dangers, just like in Jesus' time, where things are constantly changing, just like on that first night in Bethlehem so long ago, this good news of Christ is needed indeed. Firstly, it can help us cherish places of quiet holiness, laughter with friends, the good food or good memories, the kindness with which we treat one another, and the gentle warmth of a stable where a loving family laid their precious first child thousands of years ago, wrapped up warm and safe. The place where a star shone and angels sang glories, because at that moment, as a poet stated, hope and history rhymed. And this good news, it can inspire us to seek out other places where hope is rising, to join where joyful resistance to injustice and to dangerous lies speak powerfully, because we are acting as if we truly heard the message of the angels on Christmas night. And that message is, glory to God, but also be not afraid. Be not afraid, people of God. Though the ground may shift beneath our feet, though we may need to stand up for others as we never have before, though this year brings uncertainty in our own lives, though it may bring hope, it may bring joy, and it may bring challenge, God is among us. Be not afraid. This is the gift of Christmas that we have been yearning and waiting for. God came as Jesus, one of the vulnerable that we will need to stand with, and God continues to dwell among us. The Spirit of truth, of joy, of a great and healing peace on this Christmas night, and always. We are not alone. God is here. And if we allow ourselves to truly breathe in this good news, it can nourish our hearts. It can enrich our lives. Christmas can be not just a day that comes and goes with presents and food, but a constant reality, a truth we know about God and the world that undergirds our actions, giving us courage to not accept injustice or be complacent with suffering, giving us genuine hope and great joy to resist powers and principalities, and giving us space tonight, and space every day to cherish what is good in our lives and in the world, and also to work for peace and wholeness. Maybe this idea of keeping Christmas in our hearts all year long, just like everyone thought about Ebenezer Scrooge, sounds idealistic, sounds impossible. How could we possibly keep such a lavish promise? We'll forget, or we'll grow afraid of the cost of living so boldly. We can't truly live the good news of Christmas all year long when there are taxes to pay, and Facebook posts to write, and emails to send, and things to buy from the grocery store, can we? But people of God, the gospel we follow is audacious. It asks us to suspend our disbelief and our cynicism about ourselves and the world and live as if it were possible to keep Christmas in our hearts all year long. And then to let the boldness of this as if living give us comfort and give us courage, give us endurance, and give us willpower beyond our own imagining, and carrying us closer to the world that God intends for us. Because Christmas Eve, in all of its gentleness and tenderness, in all of its surprise and wonder, is a vision of the world God intends for us. So let's not get wrapped up in the impossibility of this task on this night of wonders and miracles. Let's just start here, in the glow of the candles and the songs of angels, in the stillness of this moment, and the pause before the carol begins and when it ends. Let's start here, at the very heart of Christmas. The hopes and fears of all the years met in a stable tonight. In the good news of a God who is with us. Be here now. Breathe it in and breathe it out. Choose this message of joy with every beat of your heart. Choose this gospel of courage and truth and joy with every breath. Because everything about Christmas starts with a single breath and starts again every time we choose it with our breath. It starts with the morning cry of an infant. And it starts with our throats poised and ready to sing a joyful song. So may it truly be so, tonight and always. Amen.